Hey everybody, it's Jay from Bonsai Forever. Welcome to the greenhouse. Today I got another repotting and a little bit of a trimming for you. This is a pomegranate that I grew from a seed. I'm thinking it was about 3 years ago. Maybe, yeah, I think it was about 3 years ago. Started it right when I got here in Florida, and it grew like super tall, super leggy and all that stuff. And I've trimmed it back. I haven't done any videos on it. I don't know why, just haven't. I'm actually starting to get into doing more videos on all of my trees right now. So yeah, well, let's get into it. See what we got here. All right, so I'm gonna start trying to do some more of the over-the-shoulder type of watching, see if I can stay out of the way of the camera and yet let you guys see what I'm doing. I'm going to be cleaning out the greenhouse because it is summertime or springtime, so I'll be doing some cleaning out of the greenhouse so you guys will be able to see past all this stuff hopefully here in the near future. But the first thing I'm going to do with this guy, same thing I always do I guess, is take the weeds out because they just annoy the crap out of me while I'm working on it. I just can't look past them. So I'll just pull these main weeds out here. There we go. So I want to clean this up to give it a good chance to become a more of a tree looking tree, you know, rather than a shrub. It does kind of look like a tree already. I've been doing just chopping it way back at the end of the season, and then all of this is actually really new growth from this year. This spring, this was a stick, that was just a stick. Each one of the main branches was just a stick from last year. This one did split here and go into these two, but all of the green, all of the new branches, all of that's from this year. This is what everything looked like at the end of last year after it drops its leaves. Because the pomegranate trees do lose their leaves for the wintertime. They are I would say that they're a subtropical tree. They like warmer weather. I might have lost two of my trees because it got down into the 20s and I did not bring them into the greenhouse. This one I didn't either, but this one is in a taller pot. The other two were in bonsai pots. So I think this year I will bring them in the greenhouse when it gets really cold, but yet leave them outside if it's not going to be super cold. So I'll just have to make sure and watch the weather and all that stuff. So I'm gonna cut this main branch off here that didn't make it. I don't believe these guys have a whole lot of dieback, so I'm gonna cut it right back to this little bud. Maybe it'll sprout out that way and I can wire it in that direction. If not, we'll go from there. You know, we'll see what we get. So then also I'm going to trim the ends that didn't come back. So I cut this branch that long right there to the end of here, and there was buds at the end, but it looks like they don't sprout new growth out the ends of the branch. So next year when I cut this back, I will cut it back to one node past the actual length that I want it, and then we'll get this situation where we just cut the end of it off and we're good to go. So this one actually went, nope, that was right about two nodes back. So I don't know if you can see this or not. Hopefully you can see it's got 2 nodes on there. So there we go. Pretty simple, pretty easy trimming on this tree so far. I am going to take this stuff off the middle here. You don't want branches growing in the middle of the trunk. This is kind of a double trunk tree with a branch coming off. So this would be considered a branch because it goes more laterally, and this would be considered a trunk because they both go pretty much straight up, and they have branches coming off of them. I like the double trunk on this. It looks pretty good. So I'll definitely keep that. This branch looks a little bit long compared to this here, but this should fill this space out really quickly. These trees grow super fast. Like, I don't know what to compare it to, but they do. They grow really fast. They grow really long branches really quickly. So I have to be careful to maintain its pruning during the growing season. I'm not going to fertilize it during the growing season. I'll fertilize it after most of the growth hardens off, because otherwise I'll get really super thick branches at the top, and then I'll have these thinner branches as the main branches. Because like citrus trees, the new growth grows faster and thicker than the old growth does. So if I let this just run and run and run, this branch at the end of the year, if I don't trim it back, it'll be as thick as the trunk here, and that obviously would not look good. So we will maintain these, and right now I'm going to let them grow for now, but a couple of weeks I'll go back and show you guys how I trim it up, because I will need to probably within the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of branches on this tree. Sorry, I'm like, my elbow's all up in your way, I'm sure. I don't know how the over the shoulder is gonna work. Maybe I'll bring it over the other shoulder. I'm gonna try that. Alright, so we're gonna play musical pots today. This is the pot from my last video with the rain tree that was in it. So I think this will do all right. Kind of just going for size right now. Color, it's pretty. I like the color, but I don't know how it's gonna go with the tree, because they grow really bright red flowers when they flower, and obviously the fruit's bright red. So I don't know how that's going to work out later on, but for now, this is for the size. I'll have to get a different pot later for aesthetics and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out of this pot. This is bonsai soil in here. So this tree was relatively heavy in this pot, which is good. And wow, that's a lot of roots. That is a lot of roots. That's good. And I did water this late last night, so it is still wet. It hasn't warmed up yet. Of course, I'm going to be all up in the camera finding tools now. We'll figure this camera thing out. Anyway, so I'm going to scrape the top like I always do to get the weeds out. Try to get as much of that as I can. I'm going to be careful with these brand new roots off of the trunk here, or off the tree. Be careful with those. It does have a ton of roots, so I'm not too worried about the roots, but the surface roots I really like, so I don't want to damage anything that could possibly damage those roots. So we'll be really careful with the surface here. Tease out the sides. I'm going to fill in some of this space here with the new soil when I put it in the new pot. I don't like it being so exposed. And this little piece of grass here, I'm going to save this. Not putting it back on this tree, I don't think, but I want to save that for a project. trying to figure out grass to grow in my yard that stays small, and that grass stays really small. So thinking about cultivating it to make a bunch of it so that I can put it in the yard. We'll see how that turns out. If I remember, I'll keep you guys in the loop on that too, but there's a good chance I'll forget. Good chance I'll forget to do it altogether, but we'll see how it goes. I got so much going on that I just can't always remember to do all the projects that I want to do. And whenever I think of them, I'm not someplace I can write it down. So I had been keeping a little notebook with me, and then I left it in my car. So yeah, so that helps out. It helps out when I'm in the car, but when I'm not. I did put a screen in the bottom of that pot because it's got large drainage holes. Try and get this off here without flinging dirt everywhere. Alright. I've been using my tweezers a little bit to tease out this soil, which works pretty well actually. Kind of like a rake. So I don't know if I want to completely bare root this. I might. This has got a lot of organic like soil in it. I think I was using the dry sweep or kitty litter when I potted this up. So it's got a lot of muddy clay type stuff in it. So I'm going to try and get as much of that off as I can here. So yeah, I'm going to definitely bare root it. I guess that'd be kind of obvious. There's only a little bit left in here. I want to try and save as much of the rock type of soil out of it as I can. Like I've told you before, I reuse this stuff. It's kind of hard to get here, so one thing I don't like about Florida, it is really hard to get rocks, or expensive to get rocks, like any kind of rocks, like lava rocks or anything. You have to either order it in, or if you find it somewhere, it's pricey. So there we go. Got it all bare rooted. You can see all the new root growth that I'm getting this spring, which is super awesome. I'm going to trim this back. I'm going to trim it about here. Kind of looking at the roots where I want to trim them, because obviously this is a very thick root all the way down. There's not a whole lot of feeder roots on it. So I'm going to go up to here. I'm going to cut it off. Get rid of this, because there's nothing on it. It's just taking up space. The more space you have in the pot, the better off you are. So taking off roots that are just taking up space. This one's got a bunch of feeder roots right off the end of it, so this guy down the middle. It's got a bunch of feeder roots up closer to the main part of it. And this one's got a bunch of feeder roots here, so I'm going to cut this off here. It's really nice when you find a tree that's got a bunch of feeder roots that are up closer to the tree. So this one doesn't. It's got all of its stuff at the base of it, so I'm going to just leave that one. We'll spread it out a little bit in this pot. Kind of sorting them out a little bit. I don't want them going across everything, so that's got to go. This one is crossing, so I'm going to cut it off here. Hopefully this part will go down. Big root there. Really big taproot looking root in the middle here. Not quite a taproot. I don't think this actually did grow taproot. Because I did plant this from a seed. Alright, so that's what it looks like in the pot so far. I do want it roughly there. So I'm going to take off some ends, the larger roots here. This is a nice thick root right here that I can take some off of. Squishes. Oh, that's much better. This root here has stuff, not that one. This one has stuff coming off the end of it. Feeder roots, but I'm going to trim that back. This root looks really weird. I don't like that at all. I don't think I can make it look nice right here though if I completely take it off. So I'm just going to trim it. Maybe. I'm going to shave it with my knife here and see if it'll grow new roots out of it. Pomegranates they root pretty easily. So this feels like it's all dead on the surface here. There we go. So I want to get the dead stuff off of it so that there's live tissue that it can grow roots out of. Might just cut it back a little bit farther actually. There we go. Now there's live tissue around the end of it, so now I'm going to scrape it a little bit on the sides and the bottom. There we go. Now hopefully that'll put out some new roots right there so that this can actually form a part of the radial roots. Alright, let's see what it looks like in pots now. Ta-da. Yeah, that'll do well. That'll do really well. Alright, so let's move all this out the way. I'll be right back. Got a lot of soil to go through. And alright, so let's put tree in the pot. Doesn't really matter which way I put it, this way or this way, but I think this will be like the front. So the reason why I'm just putting the soil right in, let's see if I can bring you in close enough to show you this. Alright, so as you can see, nope, the other way, there we go. As you can see, the roots are large enough and spread out enough that I can just, let me show you, I can just pour the soil kind of through the roots and it just starts piling up. Excuse my camera, I'm digging in the bucket over here too. See how it just like goes right into the roots, and then it just pours right over the top of the roots, and it fills in all the way around the roots as I'm doing that. And you can see inside of here, when I pour the soil, it doesn't get all the way up inside of that section, right? So I build up around it. I know my camera's going all over the place. I apologize for that, but I'm digging in the bucket too. Trying to do 3 things at once here. So I'm going to fill in all of this, and then I'm going to fill it in up around that, right? Like that. Then I'll take my chopstick and I'll fill in this section. And you can see how it's going down inside the middle of the tree there. And there's a root here, so I'll be careful of that. But I'll pack it down in here. And the rest of this is very similar to... Oh, I was blurry, sorry. The rest of this is just like normal. You're going to pack it in to where it feels secure and tight. But like in these sections, you just want to work it in there to where it goes down into that space of the tree. Because you don't want any gaps in the soil. You want it all filled in. So you just keep working it. And add more soil. Oops. And then keep working it in. And then you can feel when it starts getting tight, like that's pretty tight. The soil is already in there. This is much harder to do while you're holding the camera. It's like trying to write with the opposite hand of which one that you actually write with. Got some new rooting hormones. It's a gel. This is not an advertisement. This is just what I got. It'd be cool if it was an advertisement. Alright, so we're just going to keep packing the soil down into the pot here. You just want to make sure that the soil is nice and tight. You're being careful of the outer roots because, like I showed you, there's a lot of fresh roots, and if I do that, they're gone. So you got to be really careful and just nice and gentle. That's kind of why I just poured it over most of it. And just nice and nice, gentle. And I know that there's no roots out here, so I can be a little bit more rough with it, but not a lot. I don't want to just be rough with anything, honestly. So just working the soil in there. Then we're going to fill in just the spots up on top that we need to fill in. I'm just going to flatten it out, work the soil around a little bit. Just like that. Take this giant piece out. Alright, that looks beautiful. Alright, so now, next step is obviously to water this in. So water it in nice and good. Get the whole thing nice and watered. So I learned something the other day, that when you water in a tree in for the first time, you water it in really good. You get it to where the water comes out the bottom, and then once you've got it watered in really good, you don't water it until the top dressing or the top layer of the rocks starts drying out. So I think I mentioned this in my last video, but something that I want to ingrain in my own head too. When you do that, you let it start drying out, the fresh roots or the new roots or the old roots start putting out new roots so that it can find water, because they'll go hunting for water, and you want your freshly potted tree to go hunting for water, right? You want it to find it eventually, but you want it to go hunting. So you water it in really good, let the water run out, make sure all the spaces are covered in water, and then we'll let this, we'll let it go like 2 or 3 days, maybe, and depending on the temperature outside. If it's super hot and it's drying out really quick, then we won't do that, but we'll let it go for a little while and wait till the surface rocks, and I'll probably poke down in about yay far to see if it's moist down in here. Then I will leave it, and if it's starting to get dry down that deep, then I will water it. So that'll encourage the roots to start growing. Once it started growing and this starts pushing out a new flush to grow, then we'll just water it normally, like every day. Because typically out here during the summertime, I need to water my trees at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, depending on the tree and the size of the pot. So give you a quick spin around on the tree. So that looks really good. I really like that. It doesn't quite fit the pot yet, but this tree should grow pretty quick. Like I said, this is 3 years, and I've cut this tree back quite a bit, a few times, so it's starting to look really nice. I had a pomegranate tree that I grew from a seed when I was in Colorado, and I had to bring it inside every year because Colorado gets super cold during the wintertime. So it didn't lose its leaves, and it never hibernated. So each year it grew a little bit less and a little bit less, and then it just died. So when somebody's telling you about, growing an outside tree outside, that's why, because they have to hibernate. If they don't hibernate, deciduous trees, if they don't lose their leaves, they're always expending energy and never gathering it. So you want them to be able to store it and gather it. So like right now, it's gathering energy to store for the wintertime. And if during the wintertime it's got all this stored energy and it can't like grow the roots, it didn't lose its leaves, it's confused, I guess, if you want to put it that way. So then it just doesn't survive like that. It has to go through its cycles. Anyway, enough of that. Let's put some moss on here. I'm gonna put just a little bit, get it started. I really like this moss. It's super cool looking. I'll just squish it down in the soil, and as it starts to spread it will get, it'll cover the whole pot eventually. But I just don't have enough moss to cover the whole pot, so. So there we go, and we'll water this a little bit, the moss. All right, so now I'm gonna go put this out on the bench, and see you out there. All right, so there she is sitting on the bench. Let me take you off the tripod. Got this new bench that I made. It's 2x4s. I used a torch and burned everything, and then I used oil and painted it. And as you can see, the water just, it doesn't seep into the wood, which is awesome. And I did just water some of these trees, so you can see that the water just sits there. There's the other Brazilian rain tree, one that I've not done a video on yet. It's a pretty cool tree. I really like it. It's small. It's about the size of my hand, I guess. But yeah, it's a pretty cool tree. I'm hoping this will grow some more this year. I might put it in a larger pot to see if I can get it to grow. Some of my ficus trees are out here. Some of the ones that were dying and are starting to come back. This one was one that I did a video on not too long ago. I'm going to be trimming the top parts off to even it out again. Just haven't done that yet. My willow leaf oak looks like it's about to start pushing some leaves. If I can get the camera on it. Where are you at? Right in there. Those leaves are starting to push out, which is so exciting. I was kind of wondering, because all of my other trees that are deciduous, like my beech tree, my maple tree that I repotted. Do kind of an update, I guess. This is the one I just repotted not too long ago. Actually, I repotted that one. I don't think the video took, so here you go. I think I showed an update on this tree already. But my other maple tree that I just repotted is this one here. Can't see it because of the pear tree behind it, but it doesn't look like the buds are pushing quite yet. They are swelling, which is awesome. That's about to go. I got another maple over here, which this one's going to be a couple of maple trees. I'm going to air layer it into a couple of bonsais. I've got this one, Dragon's Breath maple, I think is what they call it. It's got these really cool leaves. So I'm air layering that one because obviously that is not a Dragon's Breath maple that it's sitting on, which that branch is all from this spring. This was a stick or layer in the spring. Then I put that on there and it started growing this really good. So I'm gonna let all that grow. It doesn't look good, but we'll let it grow to gain some vigor on the tree. But we'll see how this works. I'm really hoping to make this into a bonsai tree because it's a pretty cool looking tree. So that's going to do it for this video. Really appreciate y'all watching. Thanks for y'all's support, and see you on the next one.